Hello, I'm talking today about spellcraft not working because this is something that happened to me last year and it actually deeply affected me on a serious fucking level for a couple of months, and it was around September to December, and it was very shit. It was very tough, and it was nothing. It was basically anything that I cast just did not work at all, period. Every time I would cast a spell, things wouldn't work, things wouldn't happen, and it was just completely shit. And of course, every time something didn't work, it just shunted my confidence more and more until it got to a point I was literally like willing myself to even have the confidence to cast a charm, to cast a spell. I had to turn down client work and everything. It was completely embarrassing for me. And there's actually a quote, and it's from a film. And it says, a witch without power is a very miserable creature indeed. And it's very true, even though it's from a film. I can't remember what film it's from, but it's very true, because it made me feel completely miserable, completely shit, and just powerless. I don't cast magic every day, contrary to what popular belief people may think. But it did make me feel really shit on a monumental level. Now, as most of you know, I actually, last year, and I didn't shut the hell up about it, I had done my level 3, and I had to do this 4 times. I had to redo this test 4 times over every time. And it drove me completely mental. It drove me round the bend. And it just, I worked 2 jobs, I would come home, and that was my spare time revision. I would do 12-hour days, come home and start to revise. And it's why I kept failing it, because so much was going on in my life. And I am the type of person, I can't juggle things I don't deal well with that. I'm a bit shit with that. For me, when I sat down to actually conjure, to cast, to charm, it would be like, oh, you've got to do this, and then this and that means that, oh, this is what you need to do for the test, for revision. And I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't go, I tried meditation, I tried everything. The fact of the matter is, my brain just couldn't cope with the amount of stuff I had to deal with at that time. And I feel that sometimes if you do a spell, you need to put all the other shit that's going on in your life, you need to put it back. But sometimes if you're like me and you can't juggle things well in your head, those things can carry through. Some people can deal with that. Unfortunately, I'm just not one of those people. If I am overstressed to the point there is so much going on and I don't get a social life because I have so much going on, I can't even begin to focus my mind on something that I want. So I'm doing this video because I went through such a shit time. It made me feel so monumentally crap. And if anybody is going through this, I would love for them to watch this video. Because the moment I came back, I'd done my level 3, boom, that was it. Boom. Like, seriously though, everything just went back, everything went back to normal. My spells work now, things are happening, things are manifesting, whatever I call out, it's coming, it's happening, it's good, things are good at the minute in terms of my spellcraft. And also thanks to my familiar spirit, my new familiar spirit that I'm working with this year. I don't know what I'd do without her. She's amazing, she's incredible. I love her to bits, and she really has helped bring back a lot of confidence that I have missed, that I haven't had. She's helped me get back that confidence, and it was one of my goals this year within my craft. One of my best friends was like, so what's your goal for this year with your craft? And I said, I just want to get more confidence with it, because nothing I was casting was working. It was very dramatic, but I got to a point where I was like, I've lost my powers, it was a bit like hocus pocus, where like, we've lost our powers. I needed someone to like slap me and say enough. But it did get to that point. It sucked. So yeah, I think sometimes there can be various different things surrounding this. It can be that, it can be too much on your head, and sometimes it can be the spirits that you work with it does not come under their association. Sometimes I will do a spell and ask my familiar spirit to do it, and she'll be like, no, not my thing. Simple, go somewhere else, not my shit. So sometimes it can be like that. The Pendle Witches, Elizabeth Device, I believe. No, it's God. Alison Device, but look it up because my head's a bit. But Alison Device, before she sent her black dog to the peddler, she said to him, "What canst thou do? What can you do?" And I feel sometimes if you work with spirits or a spirit, it's important to say to that spirit, what can you do about this? Is there anything you can do? Rather than say, do this. Because if it's not in a spirit's reign, if it's not in a spirit's capacity to do that, they're not going to do that. And sometimes they don't want to do that. Like sometimes it's like, well, no, I don't. Why should I do that? I don't want to do that. And you know, it's a two-way street. If you're going to give something, if you're going to, you know, ask for something, you need to give something back. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's how it works. It's a two-way thing. You're in a relationship, whether it be a god or a spirit. Sometimes people will just go up to a spirit and go, do this, and they have no relationship with the spirit. They don't know that spirit from, you know, anything, and that's day one of meeting that spirit. Do this. And you know what? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes that spirit is like, well, I'm very, very liberal and free, and anyone can come to me, and I'll work for anyone as long as you give me something back, it's fine. But some spirits are like, no. You know, it depends, but the majority of the time, you're working with spirits. Spirits will say, no, you got to give a little to get a little, honey. You know, it's not how it works. So sometimes I do feel like it's important to give back into them. Also as well, bear with, back. It's important to recognise if you know someone else that is a magician or is a practicing magician, if they are very, very confident within their practice, maybe to the point of maybe to an extent of ego comes out, like, well, my practice is the only practice, and they're very, very confident with that, which in some traditions it's needed. Ceremonial magicians need that sense of ego to do certain evocations or conjurations. That sense of ego is needed in some ceremonial traditions. But sometimes if you haven't got enough confidence, it can be very off-putting for you. It can be like, oh, it can make you feel a bit shit about your own tradition. If someone's very, very passionate about their own tradition, then it can be very off-putting if you have a different tradition, or if that person may view that tradition as a little bit less, and anything than their tradition is below bog standard, which is completely wrong to think. I don't think anybody has a right to do that, because otherwise these different traditions wouldn't exist. In my own personal, you know, certain views and opinions some of those traditions may have, I don't agree with, but I'm not going to sit there and slate that tradition as a whole. But I think sometimes if you haven't got a lot of confidence and you have someone like that, that can make you feel really shit. And I think if you're going to cast magic, you need that focus, you need that will, you need to have that, right, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, this will, boom, 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 you know, literally drumming it in. It's like, this will happen, it will happen, it will happen. Just willing your everything into that, and keeping focused as well, not going, this will happen, did I turn the oven off? This will, it's not, don't do that, you know, have that capacity to just keep focused. One of the ways in which you can do that is meditation. A lot of people engage in meditation. I don't particularly engage in meditation that much. Sometimes I may do it, but very rarely, I'll be completely honest. For me, practicing magic helps me strengthen that focus and that will. So yeah, you need to have that sheer willpower, but without confidence in your own practice. And that doesn't mean being egotistical. That doesn't mean having ego. Having confidence and then having ego is very different things. So it's important to have that confidence there. It doesn't mean you have to slate down other people's traditions or call them shit if they don't fall within your own perfect understanding of what it is to be this particular thing that you do. It means just having confidence in yourself, having confidence in your spirits, having confidence in the spirits that you work with or the gods that you work with. It's about having that. It's about having that confidence. And sometimes when a spell doesn't work, sometimes it can crush you. I've had, last year, September to December, completely crushed me, confidence-wise. And every time something didn't work, it was like, It sucked. It completely sucked. But I had to pull myself out of that. I had to get out of that. So sometimes having that confidence, Another thing that I've actually learnt as well is silence. I learnt whilst I was away that I'm a bit of a gobshite, in the sense that sometimes I will run my mouth and just say, oh, I've done this and done that, and then when I've done that, I've done this in it, and then I've done that in it. And sometimes, I found myself telling people that weren't even witches, which is pretty bad, to know, to dare, to will, to be silent. And that to be silent, I never quite understood it, but I understand it now. I understand it from the point of having that silence. If you cast a spell and it hasn't manifested yet and you've only just cast it and you tell someone else about that, because it hasn't manifested yet, that spell is still there, it's still able to be influenced. If you tell someone else, you put their influence in that. You put their influence, their influence subconsciously that they think when you tell them about that spell that hasn't manifested yet, will have a big influence over it. So you talk to, say, an atheist or someone that just completely views witchcraft as bullshit, and you say, oh, I've done this spell and I've done this and I've done that, in their head they're going to think bullshit, and that bullshit is going to latch onto that spell. In my own opinion, it's going to carry on to that spell. And I think that that's very, very important, even with other witches as well. It's very, very important for you to keep silent about it. Blabber your mouth off after it works, go for it. But you don't have to tell people when you've done something all the time. You don't have to upload something to Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. I don't upload I have a rule. I don't upload photographs of conjurations or charmings that I do if it hasn't worked yet, if it hasn't manifested. So yeah, I think I've covered everything, but I kind of wanted to do this video. It's not a factual information about traditional witchcraft or a cunning folk practice. It's just certain tips that may help someone if they're struggling, if their spells are not working, because it happened to me and it made me feel completely shit. Another thing is as well, I want to say, trust in your spirits. Trust in your gods, in your spirits. If you work with your spirits, if you work with your gods, and you've had good results before, and you've had crazy experiences, trust in them.